back to the channel. If it's your first time stopping by, well, I appreciate it. If you know anything about me or my channel, you know that I love Smith & Wesson firearms. Smith & Wesson is probably my favorite manufacturer of firearms in the whole world. Now, I know that Smith & Wesson's quality control has gone downhill a little bit in recent years, and that scares a lot of people away from buying new Smith & Wesson firearms. Well, luckily, there are a lot of older Smith & Wesson firearms from the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and early 2000s that are floating around on the used market for a decent price. You can save a lot of money buying a gun on the used market. Not only that, the older guns are probably definitely going to be made to a higher quality than the newer guns. They just don't make them like they used to anymore. And that's the main reason why my Smith & Wesson Model 38 is one of my favorite handguns that I own. Alright, so the pistol came with the original box. As you can see here, just a little cardboard box. It has a date stamped in, says October 6th, 1976. Now, I really have no idea if this is the original box. There are a lot of just empty boxes floating around that you can buy on eBay. So I have no idea if this is the original box, but I can assume that this is the original box. So I can assume that 1976 is around the time that the pistol was made. Take the pistol out here. Came with a little cleaning rod here. You can screw in your wire brushes. Take a look at the gun here. As you can see, it still has a really nice finish on it, blued steel. Now, it came with these Pachmayr grips. It did not come with any other grips. Now, obviously, these aren't factory grips. Someone had removed the factory grips and put on these Pachmayr grips. With your pinky fitting right there, it feels really, really comfortable to me. I really like this grip. The one thing that's obvious on this gun is it has a little hammer shroud here. Now, that's intended to prevent the hammer from catching on your pocket when you pull it out. These guns are small, they're light, and they're intended to be concealed carried, say, in a pocket. Now, the last thing you want when you're trying to pull your revolver out from your pocket is for the hammer to get caught. That could cost you your life. Now, you can still actuate the hammer like any other revolver. It's just the hammer is protected. Has a very smooth release. You can see here I painted a little white paint on the front sight. That's just to help line up the sights. It would be pretty difficult, with the black on black, so it makes it a lot easier. Alright, so enough talk. Let's take this guy up to the range and see what he's got. Today, the ammo I'm going to be using is the PMC Bronze 132 grain Full Metal Jacket. Let's move on to the accuracy test. Now the one thing you notice when you're shooting these guns is when you go to eject the empties, this ejector rod is very short because of the short barrel. It's about a 2-inch barrel. So just note that you might have to pull out some brass when you're reloading. See the gun's unloaded. Now the double action trigger pull is very, very smooth. I can barely feel any resistance. It's a very, very crisp and smooth pull. Now the single action, very light. Not too light, but very light. Now you may have heard of the Smith & Wesson Bodyguard series. The .38 Special Revolver, the double action only .380 pocket pistol. Now you got the Bodyguard 2.0 that was just released not so long ago. Well this is a Smith & Wesson Bodyguard. The Smith & Wesson Model 38 is considered a Smith & Wesson Bodyguard. It is in the Smith & Wesson Bodyguard series. Now these guns, they have an aluminum frame. That's why they're so light. It's because the frame here is aluminum. Now with the frame being aluminum, you really want to avoid shooting plus P ammunition through these guns. You could definitely get away with it, but if you shoot too many hot loads through an aluminum frame gun like this, then you're going to bend the frame, you're going to warp the frame, and you're definitely going to screw with the integrity of that gun. As you can see, it's a very, very great shooter. Now sure, it's only a 5-shot capacity, but as long as you're proficient with the use of speed loaders or speed strips, you can reload these guns just as fast as any other handgun. You know, I think this would be the perfect first gun for someone just getting into concealed carrying or, shooting guns. It's a very simple, very easy to use gun. It's accurate, it's comfortable to shoot, comfortable to carry. It's, to me, the perfect size. I highly suggest before you go out and you buy a cheap revolver like a Taurus or a Charter Arms, you go around to your local shops and take a look, because you might find something like this Smith & Wesson Model 38 for a pretty cheap price. I only paid $299.99 for this gun, and it has become one of my favorite pistols, one of my favorite handguns to shoot. For $299, I got an extremely reliable handgun that's so smooth, so crisp, and it's just much better quality than anything you're going to get brand new for that price. I don't use this gun for self-defense. I keep it around as a backup. I have it locked away in my desk drawer. If I ever need it, it's there. Hopefully, I don't need it. Well, that's it for this video. If you enjoyed, please like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.